Looking back on the past 20 years, we've had a lot of successes and a lot of projects that affect a lot of British Columbians, and I think that's what we're most proud of.
Society is constantly evolving, and so therefore the law has to evolve to meet the needs of society. And that's the role that BC Law Institute and its branch, Canadian Centre for Elder Law, play.
When there's a complicated piece of law that's really no longer serving the needs of the public, it's able to take on very complex reviews of areas of law.
If we don't tend to our laws, we continue to be ruled by the judgments of people who lived decades, or even in some cases centuries before us. So we work to modernize, update, and improve the law.
There's a real need for the kind of work that British Columbia Law Institute does, which is to review matters on a thorough, objective, nonpartisan, non-political basis. That's very helpful to government, who cannot always provide the resources and can't access the volunteers to do that kind of work.
We have produced 14 reports that have made their way into 10 pieces of legislation.
It's a way of making the system better for all British Columbians and for the people who need to use the system.
For almost 30 years, there was a body called the BC Law Reform Commission. It was a government program. Starting in the late 90s, funding deteriorated, and there was a real legacy of institutional expertise that was going to be lost if the commission folded. And there was the handful of us who essentially took a leap of faith and incorporated the BC Law Institute.
That was an entirely new model for delivering law reform. It was unique in Canada at the time.
The incorporation structure was designed to try and involve as many legal stakeholder bodies as possible. And we hammered out what we thought was a program of law reform that could be done on the resources available, and we launched. Part of making it work on a shoestring was involving as many volunteers as we could, and that early experience kind of set the pattern for the way that the Law Institute still works for the substantive law reform work. We grew, gained credibility, and attracted some funding from government, and at that point we began to look around and say, what else might we be doing? Something called elder law was catching fire in the States. Nothing was happening in Canada, so we created the Canadian Centre for Elder Law. It allowed the Law Institute to get into a lot of what you might call social justice issues, but with a particular focus.
I see BCLI and CCL as having a bit of a symbiotic relationship where they inform each other's practice and they make each other's work possible. As our population ages, law reform issues and legal research issues associated with aging were just going to become huge. We've been really focused on a rich sense of who are older adults. It's not a uniform group, right? Immigrants have different experiences, women have different experiences, Indigenous people have different experiences. And so we take a real intersectional approach to our thinking to look at impacts on different groups of older adults. So we really try to support the BCLI to have a really rich analysis of who are the people impacted by the law.
The BC Law Institute finds out what works, what doesn't work, what reforms are happening now in other countries in the world, what policies are driving those reforms.
So all these projects deal with contemporary issues that have a direct effect on people's lives. Things like transgender issues, same-sex adoptions, assisted reproduction, and those issues that simply weren't even on the horizon.
I see subsequent generations getting involved, and it will be a collaborative endeavor that reaches more of the community and allows the community to give their input and feedback on law reforms proposed.
More and more ministries in the government are becoming familiar with us and understanding what we can do to help them bring about change in the law. We bring all the stakeholders, all the viewpoints together. We're looking forward to many more years of success.